The patron of the Geta Fenris, like a snake. Chapter 5, the plan. Alright. We are coming along. So it's this chapter, chapter 6, and then a short epilogue. Yeah, that's doable. Start the chapter. I'm closer to like a 4-hour stream than a 3-hour like I thought. Loose ends. I woke up in my bed in the B&B, and for a moment thought the whole werewolf business had been a dream. And I heard a giggle. Looked up and saw Anya looking at me with a grin. Girl, you should know how to party. You were gone for 2 days. She shook her head. Was Bartek with you? He's not returning my calls. There was so much to talk about. Didn't know where to start. How was I? I'm alright. Sorry for disappearing so suddenly, I said. What else can I say? I mean, like, I can't say, oh, I murdered Bartek, who I'm pretty sure Anya was like, what's the word? Like, just like testing the waters with. I'm just gonna straight up lie. Nip at a party, I lied, and sort of lost track of time. I drank way too much, but it was fun. What about Bartek? How should I handle the Bartek thing? I couldn't tell her that he was dead, and I'd killed him. I don't really know where Bartek is right now, I said, my voice trembling a bit. I bit my lip not to cry. I'm sorry, I said, fighting back the tears. How are you feeling? I'm worried, Anya started sobbing. I really like him, and he ghosted me. I'm gonna try and take care of her. We'll be alright, I hugged her. Just wait and see what happens. Give it time. She nodded and tried to smile, felt a part of me changing forever. I wanted to tell her everything. I packed my bag in silence. I felt a rift growing between me and Anya, with a sudden urge to tell her everything. I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to. I was a Garu, and I had a sacred duty to protect the veil hiding us from mortal eyes. I sighed and continued packing. So, are you leaving? Asked Anya. Well, what about your family history? I didn't know how to answer. Whatever the answer was, it was now Maya the werewolf's problem. Maya the student was dead. I'll be in touch, Anya hugged me. You'll figure it out. I sighed, took my bag, and left. I dropped my bag in the camp and ran through the plan one more time. They expected me to act like a Theruge. We'd all discuss other plans, both more mundane. Rare beetles. The docks, justice, retribution. Go to the barrows, the beetles, place of power. I mean, I'm going the Theruge route, so to a place of power we go. The Tempest. I needed to talk to the spirits of the forest, and for that I needed Lisa's help. Till I came along, she was the only shaman in the 2 packs. She was happy to finally have an apprentice. I had a lot to learn. Before I could face the spirits, I had to attune to the Pusha and learn the proper rites and the means of addressing the spirits. Finally, we were ready. These spirits had stopped vlogging. After a few days of camping in the forest, fasting and meditating, Lisa said that I was ready. The spirits of the forest were waiting. Sacred hunt. The sun was setting. We stood in the middle of the clearing and waited. See, they didn't tell me what I was supposed to do. I'm going to assume sowing my blood leads to a more violent outcome. I'm going to chant the words. Called upon the secret names of the forest. Then we waited. First there was a murmur, then a whisper among the trees, a rustle of the leaves in the quiet, windless night. I looked up. I saw owls. Dozens of owls watching me from the trees. Something whispered inside my skull, a voice like small claws scratching bone. What do you want? It asked. We needed help. Send the wind and send the rain, O great forest, I chanted. Drown their machines in the mud. Break the dead trees so they fall on their heads. Help us break their teeth. The rustling continued and the scratching became almost unbearable. Yes, whispered the voice inside my skull. But there is a price. I was ready. I'm ready for anything, I shouted. Hunt us, young one. Find and catch us, and then we will help you. Then the presence was gone. Lisa smiled at me. Go while the scent is fresh, she advised. You can do it. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna go Hispo. My spine cracked and twisted, my knees and ankles broke, and I fell on the ground. My jaw shattered and rearranged itself. My skin was rippling and sprouting fur. I howled when I rose. I was more than a wolf, scary and monstrous. Strong paws, mighty jaws, and a mane of fur. Sniffed the air. A forest, my nose full of scents, my ears full of noises. I turned my head left and right, sniffing the air. There! I caught the scent and jumped towards a shape that emerged from the nearby bushes. A stag, pretty and lithe, perfect vessel for the spirits. Stood there for a moment, and it caught my scent and bolted. I ran. The stag was fast, but I was faster. I smelled its fear and heard its hooves beating the ground. The very pounce that was closing the distance between us. Focus on the hunt. I looked at everything apart from my prey. The force faded away, leaving only us and the hunt. It was getting closer. I could smell its sweat, hear its heartbeat in the darkness. Pushed myself to the limit. My muscles and lungs burned. Almost too easy. Launched from the ground with my hind legs. I landed on the stag's back. It was over. I held the prey down. Each got a better grip. Growled and changed. I was Glabro, the near human form. My muscles spasmed and rearranged themselves. My jaw cracked, my mouth filled with blood. I clenched my fists and claws from my palms. Panting and whimpering, I changed. I was more than human. Wolfish, strong, scary. Pinned my prey to the ground. Went limp. And started struggling again, and I realized that the spirit I was chasing was already elsewhere. But it was too late. Something moved behind me. Something big. I turned around. I gulped and slowly turned around. At first I was a bison standing there with its head lowered, and straightened stood on its hind legs. Ivy was wrought around his arms, and his eyes were dark and wise. Yeah, it said, in a voice so deep it shook my bones. It's you. I touched it and the hunt was over. I reached out and touched its chest. My hand disappeared in the dense, mossy fur. The hunt is over, I said. I caught you. It laughs like a gale, like a forest fire, like a flood wave on a river. It washed over me and I stumbled back and fell. The sky was full of light. I'd never seen so many stars before. Puisha, loyal. I rolled on the ground and stood up. The spirit was looking at me with its dark, inscrutable eyes. You fought well, it said, its voice like a clamor of birds now. We will help you. I bowed. It's even unlocked Stormbringer. Fancy. I bowed my head. Thank you, I said. When I looked up, the spirit was gone, but I knew the Puisha was watching and waiting for my sign. A moment of triumph. I couldn't wait for the set meeting that morning. Closing the deal with the spirits was my rite of passage, and knew that I did great. The plan had been sound and perfectly executed. Met soon after the sunrise. When I woke up for the first time as a Garu, Lisa looked at us all and smiled. Our patrons were looking at her expectantly. She stepped forward towards the center of the clearing. I am the Theruj of this sept. I'm here to make sure we do things the right way. I held my breath. She turned to me and I held my breath. Maya, come forth. Are you a cub who seeks recognition as an adult? I answered. I am, I answered solemnly. Are you an applicant to a tribe? Lisa asked again. I confirmed. I am, I answered. Who speaks for this cub? Asked Olga, stepping forward. I do, Lisa answered. I'm Zoya the Sibrak, Theruj of the Morning Wolf Mother Pack. I observed the cub on her mission, and I'm here to tell the story. Secret names? Cool. I wonder if they had all cool secret names. They probably had. I love the ancient spiritual vibe of it all. As the cub passed her challenge? Asked Olga. I held my breath. I knew how it all happened, but I held my breath nevertheless. She succeeded, was the answer. She fought bravely against overwhelming odds. She succeeded. Ah, man, my voice is going back to like the fucking standard thing I do. Lisa turned to me. Have you chosen your name? Lisa turned to me. My new secret name. Suddenly I remembered my grandfather talking about his old friends. He never used their real names. They were always Thunder or Gray or Needle. I always thought it was a gorilla thing, some kind of war names. Now I wasn't so sure anymore. It captured my whole life, my aspirations, my personality, my heritage in one name. Cleared my throat. Okay, Wishora sounds very cool. I'm gonna go with Wishora. Maya Wishora Boradich. Alright. My new name is Wishora, a gale, I answered, thinking about the wrath of the forest spirits, unseen yet impossible to ignore. As for the tribe, choosing the tribe is another matter. I don't remember. Black Fury, Child of Gaia, Glasswalker, Bone Gnarl. Trying to remember. I think Cornell is Children of Gaia. Yeah, Children of Gaia is who I wanted to go. Wanted to be a child of Gaia. Getting to know both Olga and Cornell better, I decided to join the Children of Gaia. Cornell agreed to mentor me. And one thing remained to end the ceremony and make me a full-fledged Garu. Join a pack. Weasel is neutral. Winter Weasels. I joined Cornell's pack and chose the Winter Weasel as my patron. And so it was done. According to ancient rites, Lisa painted the mystical glyph of my tribe on my sternum. Disappeared after a moment. Whenever I closed my eyes, I could feel its warm touch. Wishora, the Children of Gaia. Theruj of the Winter Weasel Pack. Welcome to our sept, she said solemnly. Then she howled. Howls rose toward the sky. I sang about ancient laws of war, status, and secrecy. I heard only a few. Combat the worm wherever it dwells and whenever it breeds. Submit to those of higher station. Respect those beneath you. The veil shall not be lifted. Join the song. Clea. Threw my head back and howled with my sept. I was a cub no more, ready to tell my own stories from my own place in the pack, to howl my own songs. Chapter 6, The Storm. Alright, now, I'm going to continue this. I'm having a lot of fun with this, but I need to use the bathroom. So we're going to just take like a quick little break, and I will be back shortly. I will leave you with the fancy music, because I'm also enjoying the ambiance. Alright, I'm back, and I'm ready to keep going. This is the last chapter of the story, and there's going to be a short epilogue afterwards. So, yeah, we get this all done in one shot, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Back we go. Chapter 6. The Storm. Dust to dust. Look at what stuff we have going into this. Very high wisdom, a little bit of honor. We have one glory. What's a Cleath? A young Garu, not yet of any significant rank. Children of Gaia. Tribe believes in peace with humans and that rage the taint of the worm, not the righteous fury of Gaia. Hated by the other tribes for their reluctance to use violence and their celebration of pacifist human philosophies. The winter weasels. We are healthy in mind and body, but we need some more willpower, really, to make things a little bit better. Alright. One of those blistering summer days when the asphalt melts, the grass withers, and the air smothers those brave enough to step outside. Despite the heat, it felt like the whole village was at the funeral. I was there as well. I stood there, surrounded by the grieving crowd, looking at the rosaries they clutched in their fists. It was surreal. For a brief, chilling moment, I thought I saw Bartek's face among the crowd. No. I buried him in the barrows myself. Nobody there even knew that he was dead. It was someone else's funeral. The body of a hunter had been found in the forest. Bartek was not the reason we gathered in the churchyard. The circumstance of their death was unclear, but it was our doing. My doing. The death had tipped the scales. Since the death, I'd started seeing shadowy figures, their faces flickering in the corner of my eye. They're just figments of my imagination, or my own pack of hungry spirits following me, waiting for my mistake. I feel the tension seething around me. This death, this funeral had pushed the community, already weary and frightened by the recent disappearance in the forest, to the edge. The world was watching. The press is friendly. The press had swarmed to the funeral like flies. They were reporting on how the illegal logging was a danger to both the ecosystem and human lives. The police were watching the crowd with disinterest as they leaned lazily against the trees. Become political. Suddenly, the Pusha was. Oh my god, I've been saying this name so much and I can't get it now. The Pusha Białowieska had become politically charged and the hottest place to be in Poland. It wasn't only local politicians and activists from both sides who got wind of the commotion. The Minister of Environment himself had driven to Białowieża to attend the funeral. He was standing next to the priest conducting the ceremony, surrounded by police and what looked like a handful of bodyguards. The coffin went down, and the crowd stirred. Everyone started lining up to throw a handful of dust on the coffin or put flowers on the grave. I found myself face to face with Anya. I swept by the crowd and found myself face to face with her. Everyone keeps pretending that he's just missing, but I know that Bartek is dead. She looked me in the eyes. He was such a cute guy, you know? I froze. It must be hard for you too. She patted my arm. If you ever wanted to talk, you know where to find me. I said nothing, played it down. I'm gonna say my condolences. I'm really sorry for your loss, I said, from the bottom of my heart. I wish things could be different. Anya shook her head. One more thing. I know you think you're helping, but have you ever asked anyone what they need? Looked over her shoulder, at the crowd. Clear that many people there felt that we were not helping. On the contrary, the minister knew how to use that sentiment. I watched in disbelief as the priest handed him the mic. After 30 seconds, I understood very clearly whose side he was on. He repeated some platitudes, but it was clear he'd only come to show his face and tighten the leash on the local logging companies. The crowd listened silently. It was also our doing. I realized the conflict was only going to escalate, and a big part it was our doing. But it was too late to back down. With the forest on our side, we could end the logging at any time. We were ready to negotiate. Where there's a will, there's a way, and I have no willpower. Ah, man. There'd been a storm the previous night. When the final showdown started, the sun was at its most merciless, and the world was almost white with heat. The air smelled of herbs, bark, and tree sap. Insects buzzed lazily in the high grass, stunned by the summer sun. We were setting up the protest. The day was stifling as we set up the protest. The whole clearing was decorated with banners, and we all had our placards. The banner we'd hung on the National Park headquarters the week before was just a warm-up. Wood is the enemy of the forest was our main slogan. There were many more. Protest against greed. The fuchsia is not a commodity, declared my sign. You couldn't put a price tag on 200-year-old trees. I wasn't going to stop them trying. There weren't so many of us, but everyone in the clearing knew why they were there. The fuchsia was watching us. And it is loyal to me. Every time a gust of wind was bringing the wet smell of the forest to my nostrils, I felt her strong, steadfast presence. She knew that we were doing everything in our power to save her. Heavy clouds were hanging low over the trees. The spirits were gathered to support us in the final moments. I thought about my family. For centuries, my family served the Puisha, burning villages and hunting down people who dared to hurt her. And now I was the last Garu of my lineage. What legacy did I want to leave behind? The pressure was almost palpable, and tempers were flaring. I looked at my pack. Should we run over the plan again? Cornell asked, looking at my pack. I'll keep jamming their communications, nodded Pat. And we'll coordinate the protesters, added Cornell. Glanced at the other pack. The wolf mother and her cubs were in their positions, guarding the forest and perimeter of the camp, as agreed. That left the cops to me. It wasn't too late to negotiate. I think we should keep talking, I said. It's not too late for a peaceful solution. It's always worth trying, Cornell agreed. The cops were gathering. Police were nervous, huddling in groups and shouting at each other and everyone who was in their way. They clearly didn't want to be here. It was apparent they were waiting for something. It reached a boiling point when the minister arrived for a photo op. It attracted some attention. It looked like we'd attracted a lot of attention, for better or worse. I knew he was in for a nasty surprise. The reporters closed in on him, shooting uncomfortable questions about the legality of the logging and its forestry policy. In hindsight, you could argue that what happened next had a chain of events in motion that had life-changing consequences for many. At the moment, I didn't know that. I was too overwhelmed to ever think about the consequences. There were too many people around me, too many unknowns, too much at stake. The members of my sept had already moved to their positions. I was having my part to play. I don't have any willpower. The minister was bad news. With him at the scene, everything will get harder, I sighed, pointing at the minister. Cornell nodded. Went back to regroup. The activists, humans, and werewolves alike listened as we told them what had happened. The atmosphere was tense. We prepared ourselves for the worst case scenario. Okay, let's move, I heard someone shout. Move it, people, move it, you know what to do. And they did. A lot of laughter and friendly pushing, chains clinking, and some people darting up the trees set themselves in the branches. As a sign of the human chain. Helped to form the human chain. Hey, I heard. Get those arms behind you. That's it. Attaboy. Oh, it hurts, moaned a man's voice. Next time do some yoga beforehand, huh? That's it, people. Open your heart so you can hold your wrists behind your back. So I locked my wrists. I threaded my arm through the arms of the people to my left and right, and then grabbed my wrists behind my back. It was tight on my shoulders, hot, and very sweaty. And we waited. We sat down, one long human chain, and watched the loggers and police as they approached, and then stopped. The sun shone, it was calm, almost serene. The talk started there and then. I could see that the minister was an apt politician, and he could smell a deal for himself in it all. I didn't really care. We'd gotten what we wanted. We started to talk. Peace talks. Achievement unlocked negotiator. Ah, yes, the negotiator. When the talk started, we weren't alone. The sudden storm that evening made us all huddle in makeshift tents, and the forced closeness helped to break the ice. Many old, rotten trees were toppled by the wind, and we used the occasion to move the discussion from trees being cut down to whether fallen trees should be removed. So we started talking. It became big. I know it tipped the scales in the end. The press, the international attention, the local interest coming together, our passion. Finally, an agreement was within our reach, but the talks weren't easy. The state forests, the woodworkers, the local populations, ecologists, scientists, activists, everyone wanted something. By no means an expert, but I wanted to play my part in the proceedings. I acted behind the scenes. I kept out of sight and acted behind the scenes. There were a lot of uncertainty, and I hoped my spiritual approach would help to keep the hope alive. Talks went on and on. Of course, I had my opinions. Everyone at the scene had their own opinion and their own point of view, and I had mine. Let's take the bark beetle. In the middle of it all, the spruce bark beetle. How could something so small cause such a gigantic uproar? The beetle had always been a part of the forest ecosystem, pointed out one of the ecologists. But the recent droughts made the spruce more susceptible than ever, the forester countered. No, we have to cut down the trees to stop a total disaster. The one problem was approach. I don't have any willpower! Like, I don't have any left, man! It's all gone. I didn't trust the officials. I didn't trust a word that came out of the official's mouth. Beetle was not a reason for the logging, it was an excuse. You fetishize the forest, scoffed one of the officials. People cultivated for hundreds of years and they cannot survive without our help. He's right. Want to take our forest from us? A group of locals attacked the activists. You're not from here. You tell us how to live our lives? Yet they unbalanced the ecosystem. The problem was that human intervention unbalanced the ecosystem. Push it any further, they lose all that made the Puishka unique. Opinions clashed, tempers flared, but eventually new constructive ideas started to emerge. This one of them caught my attention. The whole area should be the national park. I mean, the whole winning the local populace was essential in this. It struck us that if we won the local populace to the cause, everything would be easier. People saw the forest, not the wood, as their local treasure, preventing the loggers from breaking the law be much easier. It was a long and a hot day. I rubbed my eyes. I was so tired I could barely keep them open. My head was spinning. I kept going. It was a little heat stroke when so much was at stake. The talks continued. Of course I had to make it dramatic. There were cameras, there were lights, and the negotiations lasted all day long. We reached the first draft of an agreement literally at sunset. I had no doubts. They only decided to stop the logging because they realized there was something in it for them. But hey, it is what it is. At the moment I just looked at the sky and laughed. I felt overwhelming relief. My exhaustion caught up with me. Found a quiet spot, sank to the ground, and fell asleep. Epilogue, The New Hope. And this is where we finish it and see what all of our choices and plottings and plans comes to in the end. Let's finish this. A New Hope. Never thought it would end like this. The humans surprised me. Yeah, sure, the humans were important. They were the problem we needed to solve, not the problem solvers. And yet, in the coming weeks, they proved to be just that. They had plans for education, for patrolling the forest, for making a permanent camp near Beazuiza. I felt relieved. It wasn't the war Olga had talked about, but it was good. There was hope. There was still hope, and I felt relief. The logging had stopped. The logging stopped. I was proud I'd had a hand in it. I talked with people, listened to their ideas, and shared their enthusiasm. We planned, we joked, we laughed. At some point I found myself sitting near an old local woman. She smiled at me, all wrinkles, missing teeth, and bad attitude. I shared my water. So, you're the young Boroshoinen. How do I pronounce this? Boroshoina people have been talking about, she said when I shared my water with her. Yeah, I answered, unsure what would happen next. She laughed. I was a little worried when I first heard about you. I mean, goddamn werewolves always make such a mess. I'm gonna play it cool. What are you talking about? I asked, trying to play it cool. Don't try that with me, young lady. I knew your grandpa when he was young. She winked at me. The problem is you're always looking for another glorious battle, she scoffed. So what? Were we useless? I sighed. Don't be stupid. You act on impulse like children or animals. When you want to do something, you just do it. She laughed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. She smiled at me. But this time you managed to actually help do something good. We'll see what happened next. I smiled, satisfied. Time would tell if she was right. Crossroads. We gathered in the clearing in which I'd first woken up as a Garu. Lisa stood in the middle of the clearing, the wolf and the weasel by her side. Now, she said, looking at Cornell and Olga. Yuto, you need to solve this. Today. Olga nodded. There was anger in her eyes. It won't last. The peace won't last, she barked at Cornell. I should have stopped you. Then we wouldn't be in this situation. At night, we planned the future. It was long and full of hope. Olga talked with Cornell and Kim and Pat for a very long time, trying to convince them to stay in Biazuiza. They weren't fond of the idea. But I managed to convince them. Somehow. We went through too much shit together just part ways like that. Lisa and our patrons made sure that we did right by Garu law and the set matters were resolved. More had happened that summer. Didn't cover everything that happened that summer, though. Some consequences would have to unravel with time. Despite everything that had happened, Anya managed to get out of it all alive. She tried to help the Puisha and work in activism for some time, but it was hard in the divided community. She left in the fall to study, just as she'd planned. It was all still ahead for me. For now, the first chapter of my new life was coming to an end. Achieved goal. Mystery. I'd come to Biuiza to learn something about my roots, and now I knew them. And knowing them, I could finally grow in the land of my ancestors. Repay my family's debts, perhaps even make a real home here. But I loved the Puisha, and I knew she was watching over me. Your story's almost over. Might be a good time to take the last look at your character sheet. Alright, we'll take its advice. We are very high wisdom. Shoulda. I don't think my profession is student anymore. They got that one wrong. Feruj, Cleath, Children of Gaia, Winter Weasels. Earn glory, honor, and wisdom, make your own legend. The Morning Wolf is cautious, Winter Weasel is sympathetic. Family is complicated. I still love that. Alright. Late that night, I was sitting with my back against a tree, looking at the country I was born in, watching the stars. They were moving, dancing around me. It was only after a moment that I realized they were fireflies. I watched the bugs glowing with their inner light, writing fleeting love poems in the dark vellum of the night. I smiled, thinking about their brief, beautiful, intense lives. Then I stood up and went back to our camp. But so many important things to do. End. You have finished Heart of the Forest. Cubs gather in the fire and listen to the story of Maya Borodich, known among the Garu as Wishura, the children of Gaia, Deruj of the Winter Weasel Pack. She was wise and her prophecies accurate. Maya managed to negotiate a fragile peace and stop the harvesters. The change had begun. The first protest against the logging of the Biazwish Forest took place in 2016. The game was loosely inspired by those events. All characters and events depicted in the game are entirely fictitious. Alright. It's loud. Ooh. Get some like really cool like Polish throat to me. Sounds like. I'm just gonna like sit and enjoy this now. Safe world. Rogi clutch. I don't know what safe world is. Lakalak. Bergerath Bookman. Walk without games. So yeah, that has been Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. I kind of like how like short it is. There's a lot of branching paths and things that I could do. Maybe I'll play it again later and try and go for like, I don't know. I definitely went the low range route and went with the Children of Gaia, became a Theruj, things like that. In playing it, I can see all the different ways I could have gone different paths, things I could have done differently, people I could have sided with. And it makes me just wonder, like, what else could I have done, you know? I'm not going to be playing this on stream again, not anytime soon. I might play it in my own time and just try one of those other paths and see what comes of it. And I don't know. Maybe I'll save it and do a rage route another time. It's not going to be for a while. Because the reason I wanted to do this week was because I knew how short it was. Like short, punchy. And get it all done in one stream and move on from it. Grandmark and Magic. Jason Carl. Wait, Jason Carl. Is that the same Jason Carl that does the LA by Night series? Maybe. I don't know. Well, LA by Night and New York by Night now.